All right, this is Module 2, Lesson 6. We are going to spend a little bit more time on adding and subtracting integers. I feel like we need just a little bit more practice with this. So a lot of this is going to be review. You've already seen all of this, and we are just going to be reviewing. So let's start off with adding integers with different signs. Now, earlier in the module, we learned how to use the number line, which I think is a lot of people prefer this method. It just will be unrealistic if these numbers are a little bit bigger. But let's start with 4 plus -2. So we're going to start at 0, go up 4, go back -2. Our endpoint is 2. So one way to add those two numbers is using the number line. We could do the same thing. Start at 0. We're going to count down 5, count up 1, which puts us at -4. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to use the absolute value symbols. What I mean by that is we're going to take the actual values of the numbers, the absolute values of the numbers, and we're going to use our rules. If they are the same signs, you're going to add the numbers. If they're opposite signs, you're going to subtract. So in this case, we have a negative and a positive. So opposite signs mean we subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. Now the 10 is bigger, so look at the sign on that number. The sign is negative, so my answer would be -4. Same thing with number 2. Opposite signs, one positive, one negative means subtract. 8 minus 9 is 9. 18 is bigger than 9, so 18 is positive. Our answer is positive. You're eventually going to move into using the absolute value symbols rather than the number line. It's a little bit more realistic time-wise to adding numbers. All right, we also talked about this in the real-world connections. A temperature outside is -8. Name the temperature that would make the sum of these two temperatures 0. So to get back to 0 would be a +8. We're already at -8. So the temperature would be 8 because -8 and 8 is 0. This one, part A, we receive $10 from your grandmother, but we spend $4 on snacks. So using addition, write a number sentence. Remember that is what two numbers are we adding? In this case, it's 10 and -4. And what does it equal? Which in this case would be 6. If you want to model that using the number line, we would go up 10, back 4, and notice that we end at 6. All right, so I'm going to have you do a little practice. You can pause the video when you are done with the practice. The practice goes all the way up to number 8 on the next page. When you're done with that practice, go ahead and push play. Make sure you have the answers correct. So hit pause now. All right, so number 1, we are on a number line, so we're counting down 6. From there, we're going up 4. We end at -2. 3 plus -8, so we're counting up 3. From there, we're counting down 8. Oops, I went 9 instead of 8. We end at -5. All right, next page, number 2. This has no more number lines. I wanted you to do it by using the rules. So opposite sign, subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 is bigger. I'm going to circle it. The answer would then be negative. Opposite sign, subtract. 20 minus 14 is 6. 20 is bigger, so the answer is positive. Opposite sign, subtract. 6 is bigger, so my answer is negative. Now, if you have more than 2 numbers, my suggestion to you is to add all the positive numbers together first and all the negative numbers together second. So in this case, we have -6 and -8. The reason I tell you to do that is because if you have the same signs, you're adding the numbers. So 6 plus 8 is 14. 8 is bigger, so that's negative. Now you have opposite signs, so subtract. So 14 minus 2 is 12. 14 is bigger, so that would be negative. So when you're adding 2 or more numbers, it doesn't matter the order that you're adding them, but you have to only add 2 at a time. All right, so in this case, we have -7, -8, same sign, so you add them together. 8 is bigger, so its answer is negative. Now we still have this -10. Same signs, add. 15 plus 10 is Oh, not 15. 15 plus 10 is 25. 15 is bigger, so my answer is negative. All right, I told you to do the negatives first. You don't have to, but I told you it might be easier. So 4 stays. Negative, negative, add. 6 is bigger, so keep the sign. Now opposite signs, subtract. 9 is bigger, keep the sign. So 4 plus 8, we still have negative 10, but 4 plus 8 is 12. Opposite sign, subtract. 12 is bigger, so keep the sign. So there was just a whole bunch of review on adding. So now let's talk about subtracting. We've been talking about this for the last couple of days. Remember, subtracting is the same thing as adding its opposite. So we like to say leave, change, change. Those are our 3 key words. We're going to leave the first number. We're going to change the sign to addition, and we're going to change the second to its opposite. This is a great example to follow for the remainder of this lesson. All right, so using the rule of subtraction, we're going to rewrite the following subtraction as addition sentences. So all this is asking us to do is rewrite subtraction as addition. It's not asking us to solve. So 6 minus 4, we're going to do leave, change, change. Subtraction is now addition. Let's do it again. So 5 is left, change the subtraction to addition, change 6 to negative 6. Subtraction becomes addition. Last one, we have negative 2 plus negative 4. Subtraction becomes addition. All right, so number 2 is actually asking you to find the differences. Now, if I'm changing them to addition up here, I'm going to do the same down here, and that is important to show your work. So we have negative 1 minus negative 7, so leave, change, change. Now, when you actually do this, you're adding. So opposite signs means to subtract. 7 minus 1 is 6. 7 is bigger, which means my answer is positive. All goes back to the adding rules. All right, let's do that again. 12, we leave. Change, change. 12 plus 5 is 17. Number 2, leave, change, change. Opposite signs, subtract. 8 is bigger, and it's negative. All right, so moving to the next page, you're going to notice that I have this chart that's going to sum it all up. And basically, these are the rules that you must memorize in order to add and subtract. So let's fill this chart in. This is something new that you've never seen, but it will hopefully organize your thoughts. When you're adding integers, there's 2 different scenarios that could happen. First thing is you could have same signs, both positive, both negative. Or you could have opposite signs, one positive, one negative. Now, throughout the video, you've heard me say that if you have same signs, you are going to add the 2 numbers together. If you have opposite signs, you are actually subtracting the 2 numbers. And in both cases, we keep having you circle the larger number and keeping the sign. So keep the sign of the larger. So this chart, if you memorize it, this might help you in following the diagram to getting your answer. All right, so there's a similar diagram for subtracting. The first thing we keep doing for subtracting is leave, change, change. That's the most important. So leave, change, change. Leave the first number, change it to addition, change it to its opposite. Now, once we do that, it's just an adding question or an adding problem because we've changed it to addition. So when you're adding, you have 2 different scenarios, which should look awful familiar from above. We have same signs. We have opposite signs. If they're the same signs, you're going to add them together. Opposite signs, you're going to subtract them. And in both cases, you're going to keep the sign of the larger. Once again, notice that this is the same thing as adding because once you do leave, change, change, that's what you're doing to the 2 numbers. All right, I hope this was a good review for you. There will be a quiz coming up shortly on adding and subtracting. So take some time to practice, and we will go over the homework in class tomorrow. Good luck.